On May 15th, Pope Francis will name 5 new members to the community of saints. One of them is Charles de Foucauld, the French priest who gave up a life of riches and women to become a Trappist monk before moving to the Algerian desert to live among the region's Muslim communities. The Little Sisters of Jesus are one of the more than a dozen religious institutes inspired by his life and writings, and their Generalate in Rome is home to a museum that tells the story of Brother Charles and provides fascinating insights into the details of his life.
When we enter in the museum, we see his sandal and his compass. And those two things are good symbols because he wanted to be in relationship with people. So he had to walk and meet the people. And then his compass, because he walked a long way in the desert, so it was compass is very useful when you don't know exactly the way.
Their chapel holds the altar Brother Charles constructed to say Mass in his home chapel in Algeria, as well as the artwork he painted to decorate it. The sisters also have many handmade tools that show the rugged conditions in which he lived, as well as several of the many letters he wrote to France, pieces of which were given to monks sent to fight in World War I.
On the top of the paper, he always drew a little cross and a heart. One monk cut with a scissor and gave that as a relic to each monk that went fighting. Brother Charles was still alive. So it shows also during his life, they all knew he was a saint.
Today, the Little Sisters of Jesus number about 1,400 members of 65 different nationalities, all drawn to follow the example of Brother Charles, who modeled his simple life after that of Jesus during his time in Nazareth.
We have to think of Jesus living in his village of Nazareth. There he was, this man working in a carpentry workshop. At the same time, he was the Son of God. But from the outside, nothing struck the people. So he was like everybody else. But he was Son of God.
Brother Charles's radical life of poverty and profound spiritual writings have already transformed how thousands of people seek to live like Jesus. And soon, the humble priest will be known by his new title, Saint Charles de Foucauld. Charles de Foucauld was a French priest who abandoned a life of wealth to live in the Algerian desert with the local community. Although he lived on the margins of society for most of his priestly ministry, today some 20 congregations and other religious groups have taken inspiration from his life and spirituality. That's because despite living among the most poor and neglected, he maintained close ties to communities in France and elsewhere who learned from his example.
Pensiamo che fosse un eremita.
We tend to think that he was a hermit, that he didn't see anyone, and that doesn't match with the reality. We have thousands and thousands of letters from Charles de Foucauld who had a whole network of correspondence, and this explains in part how only 10 years after his death, the application to begin his canonization was opened. Since most miracles leading to canonizations are miraculous healings, Father Bernard says that the second miracle attributed to de Foucault's intercession was quite unusual. It entailed an unbaptized 21-year-old construction worker named Charles, who fell over 50 feet while working on the roof of a chapel in 2016. The incident took place in the town where de Foucauld once lived, on the eve of the 100th anniversary of his death. Doctors said there was no medical way to explain how he survived.
Con questa coincidenza,
With this coincidence of the timing, the place, and this young man, who is named Charles and is not baptized, we recognize that this grace, this miracle, was from God through the intercession of Blessed Charles de Foucauld, who with this will be proclaimed a saint. Although de Foucauld died more than 100 years ago, Father Bernard says the example of his life, engaging with people of other faiths and tending to those who are neglected, remains relevant today.
Charles de Foucauld
Charles de Foucauld teaches us that we must have our hearts and minds very open to everyone, but also that to have a dialogue with life, our Christian identity must be strong. A revolutionary in his own way, Charles de Foucault's life shows that sainthood can be found anywhere, even in the desert.